Hello everyone, this is Dr. Jones, and today I will be building a OLAP cube from the MaxMinManufacturing database. I'll be doing it in order to fulfill the response of this assignment, Lab 2 assignment here. I'm going to briefly read it, see what they're asking for first, and then we'll go ahead and build this cube. Okay. The Vice President of Productions would like to be able to analyze the following numbers: accepted products, rejected products, total products, rejected products by percent. And he wants, or she, we don't know whether it's male or female, but they want it as, they want to be able to see these numbers in terms of product name, machine name, country name, month, quarter, year, plant name, and product type name. And then they want a KPI that will pretty much give them the visual or graphical representation of those rejects that are below those products that have been rejected at a rate of 2% or less. Anything above that really is not good for the company because they're losing money. Any product that's rejected can't be sold. So here are the business rules that the Vice President of Production wanted, and the system rules were put together by a business analyst that will be entered into the cube when we get to the KPI portion of it. So now that we have that, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go download the database. Okay, so that's the first thing we're going to do. All right, so we're going to do that first. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is go to the internet. Put a plus sign there. Yeah, I can quickly get to the portal from there. My password. I'm gonna go to Blackboard. Okay. And since I have 3 classes of MGT 245, I'm gonna pick one, any one of them. I guess I'll pick the 232 here. I'll take this 2362. I'll take that course because that also, all 3 of them have the data mart in them. So I'm just going to choose that one. Scroll down to data, and then MaxMin sales, MaxMin manufacturing. This is the one we want to build a cube on today. And orders processing data marts. Okay, we're going to click on that directory. Scroll down. This is the database that we want because we're working on lab 2. Okay, because this matches, the lab 2 matches the assignment lab 2. Okay, right here. So let's click on it, download it. As you can see, I've already downloaded it yesterday, but I'm going to download it again. I'm going to download it. Well, I've already downloaded it, but I'm going to download it again. So I'm going to download it. Okay. Okay, now that's done. So this is done. Okay. So now I'm going to go to where that file is. I know I downloaded it to my documents. So here it is right here. Okay, I've already downloaded it. So I'm going to delete the one I did yesterday, just so we can be on the same, also delete this file as well. So here it is. I'm going to extract this file. Okay, I can do it several ways. I can extract it, but I want to extract it and put it in my SQL Server backup file. Okay, because when you load SQL Server on your computer, okay, one of the things that happens is that if you don't, even if you do, but if you don't ask for a individual server, if you don't configure a individual server while loading the SQL Server process, then it's going to create a default server for your databases, and it's going to use your computer name as the server name. So in essence, it's converting your laptop into a server to hold the Microsoft SQL Server databases, whichever you may come into, come in contact with. You can upload them to your own personal SQL Server instance, okay, which takes on the name of your computer, okay, and I'm going to demonstrate that shortly. But for now, I'm going to double click on this. So here's the file, okay, so I'm going to click on that. I'm going to highlight that, and I'm going to go to extract to right here. And then I want to place this file in a certain place. I want to put it somewhere where I know SQL Server will be able to grab it, okay, and restore it to my instance on my laptop. So I'm going to go to C Drive, Program Files, SQL Server, Microsoft SQL Server. Now down here, it has MSAS twice, and it has MSRS twice, and then it has MS SQL twice. The first one is my private server that I set up when I loaded or install SQL Server. And that's a private server where I have private databases for other projects that I may be working on. But it also creates a default server. And this one is tied to my computer name. The A stands for Analysis Services. So it's the analysis server. The R stands for the report server. The RS report server. And SQL Server is the actual application or the database instance. Okay, so I'm going to go to the actual default server that takes the name of my laptop. And you'll see that later on when I go into SQL Server. So I'm going to click on this one because we're talking about the database. We're not talking about the report server. We're not talking about analysis services. Not right now. Okay, so then I'm going to go to Microsoft SQL Server, and then I'm going to hit backup. This is the one that I want. I want to hit backup. I want that file. I want this file in this directory. Okay, so I'm going to hit OK. Okay, so it's already there. So I'm just going to overcopy it. There you go. I'm just going to overcopy it. It was already there from a previous demonstration. So I overcopied it and placed it there. So that's it for that. I'm finished with that. Now I go to my SQL Server. Okay, it's already open. I hit connect. Now at this point, I'm going to use database engine here. Okay, I have several ways to assess or to access my my local instance. I can type in localhost. Okay, that's one way of getting it. Or I can go to the computer name. Okay, let me see where I can find it. I go here, right click on my PC, go to properties. So here's my computer name. It tells you right there the computer name. Okay, so the name that I named it when I purchased the laptop. Okay, I wrote this name in as the name of my computer when I purchased the laptop and started to configure it for use. That's the name I use. So VM DRAHJ training is what I named my laptop. Okay, so that's the name. Okay, so if I close this, I don't need the File Explorer right now. So if I type in, and I already think I have it pre-typed here, this is the computer name. So if I hit this name here and hit connect, guess what happens? The default database that SQL Server created, where it converted my computer name into a server on my laptop, is now available. And databases that I put in there are also available. And what you'll recognize is that the MaxMinManufacturing database is not here. It is not here. I want to bring it in, okay? But before I do that, I want to show you two other ways or two other acceptable entries that will get me to my personal server, my personal Microsoft SQL Server database. Okay, two other ways. Okay, so I'm going to disconnect, connect again. But this time I'm going to put just a period. just a little dot, and then hit connect. This is a shortcut to getting to my personal server, my personal Microsoft SQL Server database instances. Okay, it's just a shortcut. It's the same databases, as you can see. Okay, now I'm gonna disconnect again, and I'm gonna connect again. But this time, I'm gonna type in, or I already have it typed in, localhost. If I use this, it's the same thing. It's another shortcut instead of typing in my complete computer name. Okay, so I'm gonna stick with localhost for now. Okay, and now I'm gonna go and retrieve the MaxMinManufacturing database that I downloaded from Blackboard. Okay, so I'm gonna go to right click on databases, go to restore database, hit that. And then I'm going to hit device. And then these three dots here, I'm going to hit that. Okay. And then I'm going to do click on the add button. You see, it's already found the backup. That's why I put that file there, because it already knows if I'm going to restore, this is the directory it's going to go to look for the back file. I call it the back file because the extension is BAK. Okay, so I'm going to click on that, hit OK, and I'm going to hit OK again. And by doing that, guess what happens? The MaxMin database, the MaxMin Manufacturing Data Mart, that is DM, is loaded. Here it is. It's loaded now. It's already loaded. So now that the Data Mart is loaded, I'm going to go directly to Visual Studios now. Okay, I'm going to go to Visual Studios. I'm sorry. I'm going to go to Visual Studios, and I'm going to create a new project. I'm going to just create a new project, and I'm going to select Analysis Services, Multidimensional Data Mining Project. I'm going to select that. Okay, I can double click on it, or I can hit Next. So I'm going to hit Next, and I'm going to name this MaxMinManufacturing. Okay, and then I'm gonna put here localhost, because it's coming from the localhost, the database that's connected there. So I'm gonna put it like this, and then I'm gonna hit create. So it says that this folder already exists. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll do localhost again. Well, I'll delete it actually, and I'll put today's date as the differentiator, because I already have this file loaded. So I'm going to put today's date as the difference. Okay, then I'll hit create. That way I know that it's unique, because the reason why that was rejected is because the name MaxMinManufacturing localhost already exists in that particular file. Okay, so now I'm giving it a new name here, and that's today's date. Okay, so now that I have that, I'm going to connect. The first thing I'm going to do is connect the data source, okay, to that database that I just added from Blackboard, the MaxMinManufacturing DM. I'm going to do that by right-clicking on New Data Source. I'm going to hit Next, okay, and just for added measure, I'm going to delete the one that I already had there, and then I'm going to create a new one. Okay, a new data source. Okay, create a new data source. There you go, a new one. Okay, here, once again, I have three choices. I can put a dot. I can type out the complete computer name, the VM, DRAHJ training, or I can do localhost. So I don't want it too short with dot, and I don't want it too long with the computer name. So I'll put here localhost. But all three of them will work. All three of them will get you access to your default SQL Server instance. Okay, I don't need to change this because I own the laptop. The SQL Server instance takes on all of the credentials of my computer, So my login credentials that I logged into the system is the same login credentials that it would need to access this particular database. So, and here it is. Okay, this is the database, and I just do a test connection just to make sure that it's connected. Okay, then I hit OK. Okay, now that that's done, I go right to next. Okay, go to next. Now, the impersonation information, okay, that is the same login and password that you would use when you turn on your laptop, or when you go to use your laptop. You have to, turn it on, and then you put in a username and password so that you're granted access to it. That password that you have, okay, that's the same one that's required here. The one that you use to log into your system, that's the same one that you use to impersonate, okay, the information. And what this does is this allows the deployment. This grants the deployment, because SQL Server Analysis Services, it needs certain rights to deploy the OLAP cube wherever you want it deployed, whatever server, analysis server it's deployed on. And you need to actually have some type of rights, ownership rights, or very close to it. Okay, so we're going to do that. Okay, the name, I don't like spaces in. This is just a personal preference. I don't like spaces in my the naming convention, and it usually defaults with the spaces. So I'm going to close the spaces, get rid of the M, and put a capital S. So it stands for data sources. The DS will stand for that. So now my connection is done. So the next thing that I will need to do is data source views, create the views, bring in the tables from this particular database. So I'm gonna right click, and I'm gonna do next. So it already recognizes the data, the MaxMinManufacturing DS, which is right here. So I say yes. Let's go to the next step. Okay. Same name as primary keys. Yes, we want everything to be the same. The way the naming convention is in the database, I want that same naming convention to come over in the multi-dimensional here. Okay. So I'm gonna hit next. Now I'm going to bring over all of the tables. I'm just going to do them with the exception of this table. I don't need this table for the cube that I'm building right now. I don't need this one. So I'm going to leave everything else. I'm going to leave that one and accept everything else. Hit next. And once again, I don't like the spaces here. And this is just my personal preference once again. And then I'm going to change the M and put SV. And as you know, that will stand for data source views. Okay, I just try to keep my Solutions Explorer information in a somewhat of a form that is easy for me. Okay, so the data source views are done, but I don't see them. I don't see the connection of the tables. So I'm going to double click on it, and then it comes up. So sometimes it comes up automatically. Other times you just may have to double click for it to be visual to you. Okay, now since that is done, my next step is to create the cube. Create the cube. Once you can see the data source and the links, are you satisfied with the links? And for this is what we call a snowflake schema. This is a snowflake schema. How do I know that? Because I know that the fact table, every dimension or every other table is not directly connected to the fact tables. Some tables, some dimension tables are actually connected to other dimension tables. That gives me the indication that this is a snowflake schema. Because a star schema, every table that's not a fact table is connected to the fact table individually. This one isn't. You have some tables that are not connected to the fact tables. And in this particular design, there are two fact tables here. There is the inventory fact table and the manufacturing fact table. Okay? We will not be working with the inventory fact table today. The cube that we're going to build will be working only with the manufacturing fact table. Okay? But we see that not every table is connected directly to the fact tables. Okay, that's how we know this is a snowflake schema. One of the quick ways. There's other ways too, but this is one of the ways that we can easily assess what type of schema we're dealing with. There's only two schemas when you're dealing with analysis or OLAP cubes. There are only two schema designs: the snowflake and the star schema. Okay. So now that that's done, I'm going to right click and click on new cube, hit next. I'm going to use the existing tables. These are the existing tables. Okay. So that's what I want to use. Okay. We can actually create a cube and create our tables in Visual Studios. Okay. And because we have this connection, those tables will go right back into our database engine as tables in a particular database. We can do that. We can generate tables in a data source. We can go the opposite way. We can. So you can create tables, okay, in Visual Studios, in analysis services. But we're not doing that today. We're going to take the existing tables from the data mart, MaxMinManufacturing, our data source here. So we'll go next. Now, what they're asking for here is the measured group, or the fact tables. For this particular setup, we already know what they are because they have the last name of fact at the end of the word. So we know that these two are our fact tables. But if we didn't know, if this wasn't here and we didn't know, then we would we could use the feature that is in Visual Studios to suggest the fact tables. So I'm going to do that anyway, even though I know that inventory and manufacturing are the two measured tables. And the system, excuse me, the system actually selected the ones that we knew already were the measured tables or fact tables. Okay. So, sometimes you see these two words used interchangeably. Sometimes in the book, you may see the word fact or fact tables, and then sometimes you'll see measured or measured groups tables. Okay, it's the same thing. Okay, the fact tables are in the measured group directory. Okay, and they're considered tables in the measured group. Okay, so go to next. For me personally, I don't like the counts. Everything else I like to keep as far as analysis is concerned, but I already know the number of records for each table here for the inventory. So I'm going to uncheck the count, and I'm going to uncheck the manufacturing count as well, because I already know the count. I can get that from the actual database. Okay, so next. Now, for some reason or another, this particular data source, there's something in the manufacturing fact table. There's something in the manufacturing fact table that is prompting it to be also a dimension. I don't want to use the manufacturing fact table as a dimension, so I'm going to uncheck that. I want it to remain a measure. Okay, so I'm going to uncheck that. There are instances where you would want that, but this is not one of those cases. Okay, so we will leave that unchecked. Everything else we want as a dimension. We want the product. We want the product type. Okay, we want all of these. Why do we want them checked? Because if you go back to the Word document, we have to add attributes so that we can see these numbers with these views. Okay, so we have to have those checked. We cannot bypass them. So these must be checked. Okay, with the exception of the manufacturing fact table, because that's our measure table. We already selected it in the previous screen as our measure table. So hit next. And once again, I'm glad that it took the spaces out, but I don't want DSV for my cube. I want capital CUBE as my cube. Okay, MaxMinManufacturing cube, and hit finish. Now, this is done. The cube, in essence, in this very general sense, is done. Okay? But there are things we need to do based on this assignment. There are things that we need to do. Okay? The first is dealing with the measures. Okay? This is the first one. Okay? Dealing with the measures. We know that total products don't exist in our table, in our MaxMinManufacturing fact table. We also know that reject products by percent does not appear in our fact table. So we have to create these calculated fields. We also know that if we look at this, if we look at the product, we know that there's no product by name in the attributes. So we have to bring that in. We know that there's no product by name. We know it exists. How do we know it exists? Because it's right here. So we know that product by name is there. If we go back to the Word document, the machine name, okay, that's another one. The country name also. So we know that if we look at the attribute for machine, or material, I'm sorry, and machine, let's look at machine as well. We'll see that machine name, plant name, and country name are not there. But the vice president wants to see machine name, plant name, and country name. He didn't have material on here. Material is not here. Okay? So we know, well, I can close material because he didn't ask for anything from material. What he wanted was machine name. And do we have machine name? Yes, we do. It's right here. So we have to bring that attribute. What about country name? Is there a country name? Yes, right here. Is there a plant name? Let's see. Yeah, plant name right here. So let's deal with our attributes first. And also, while we're at it, he wanted month, quarter, and year. He wanted month, quarter, and year. So we have to build a time dimension because time is not on here. None of these dimensions have time. However, those fields are available in the fact table itself. So we have to do a special technique to extract these fields and treat them as a dimension and reconnect it to the manufacturing fact table. We'll do that. But before we do that, let's add all of these attributes that the vice president wants. So we're going to go to dim. We know that they want the product name. So we're going to click and drag product name over. And he wants the product type name as well. If you go back, you see that the product type name is one that he wants as well. So let's click on it, hold the mouse down, hold the left side of the mouse down and drag it over. Okay, that's done. Let's save that and then close it. Okay, so when we go back to attributes, we see that the type, the product type name, and the product name is there. Next one, we don't need anything from materials. Okay, I think he wants batch name. Nope, he doesn't want batch name as well. Doesn't want it. Okay, so let's go down to machine. Okay, click on machine. Now, machine has several. Okay, we know that machine has the country name, and we know we have to report by the country name. We know that we have to report by the machine name. Bring that over. And we know that we have to report by the plant name. Okay, get that over there. All right, so that's done. We're going to go ahead and save that. And then we're going to close it. Now, let's deal with this issue with our time dimension, or our dimension related to our dates. We don't have it So we have to create a dimension. So let's go and create a dimension. Let's right click, and this is where we create it at. We right click here, new dimension. Next. Okay, we're going to use the existing tables, so hit next. Now, the main table that we're going to base this time dimension on is where we have these fields that we want to put in that dimension: year, quarter, and month. So this is on the manufacturing fact table. So let's click on that. That's our main table. But look at what it says here. It gives us a warning. It says, a name column must be specified when a composite key is used. These are composite keys. Okay? If not already presented, it is recommended to create a name calculation in the data source view, that's in this instance, okay, that concatenates. This word concatenate means to bring together. That means to join these four together. Create a field in the data source view that combines these specified keys. So make one column for these. Now, why are they asking us this? And they're not letting us go forward. You see, the next button is embedded. So I can't go forward until I do this. Okay? So I got to cancel out. I can't create it. I have to combine. Why are they asking me this? So let's look at the data. I'm going to right click and I'm going to hit explore the data. Why are they asking me to combine? The reason why they're asking you that, because if you want a new dimension table related to time, okay, it cannot have duplicates in the primary column. Since these are composite keys, date of manufacturing, product code, batch number, machine number, these were all composite keys. There cannot be any duplicates, okay? But we see duplicates. Okay, we see duplicates, 18, and there's 18 somewhere down there. Okay, we see 16, 16. These are duplicates. Okay, the reason why they have all four keys together is because in combination it is unique. If you look at all four fields together, they're unique. Together, they're unique. But separate, they have duplicates. So I can't pick one of them as my primary key for my new dimension, time dimension table. I cannot. And I can't choose any of these fields because these are my display fields and they are definitely duplicates. Each individual transaction, okay, these columns are duplicate, although the transaction, okay, the rejected and the accepted, okay, these are my measure fields, okay? Elapsed time, these are my measure fields that I'm going to be reporting on. So these have duplicates. I need a field that when I create the time dimension, they are unique, okay? So I'm going to close this. And in the warning, it said I had to create this field not in the cube instance, not in the cube design. This is the cube design. I need to create it in the data source view design. So let me go back here. And it has to be created in the manufacturing fact table. So I need to create another field that is unique, that combines or concatenates these four fields. So if I go back to Blackboard, this is what the supplement is for, okay? This is what the supplement is for. I already created the field, named it, and gave you the code that would generate the unique data for each column, or each row, I'm sorry. So let's download that. And I'm going to place this. This one, I don't have to place it in the C drive because this is not a database. This is a simple text file. So I'm going to save it. Okay. I can go ahead and close that now. It's saved. But then I'm going to open up Basic Notepad. This is Notepad. This is on everybody's system. If you go to, I think it's under accessories or Microsoft accessories somewhere, you'll find it under there in terms of accessories. Here it is, Windows accessories, and there's Notepad. But I just added it to my one of my quick applications. I use it so much. So I'm going to open it up, go to that file I just downloaded, open. I'm going to find it, but I can't see it now. I know I put it in documents, but I can't see it. The reason why I can't see it is because this is set to any extension that is .txt. This is not a txt. So I'm going to change it because I want to see all files. I don't care what type of file it is. So by doing that, then I see my manufacturing time code that I downloaded from Blackboard, the supplement. So I'm going to click on that and open it. So when I open it, I get the field name. This is what I'm going to name it. And this is the code that will combine the date of manufacturing, the product code, the batch number, and the machine number together as one data point, unique per row. Okay, so let me do that first. I'm going to copy the name of the field, copy that first. Then I'm going to go back to Visual Studios. I'm going to click into, just one click into the manufacturing fact table. Then I'm going to right click on the mouse. And then I get this little menu. I'm going to click on New Name Calculation. And I'm going to paste in here that manufacturing time name. It should have been here. I don't know why I didn't. Let me go back and copy it again. Maybe I didn't copy it. Okay, so here it is. I'm going to paste it. It's still not going there. See? This is not going. I don't know why. So I'll tell you what, I'll just type it in just for the sake of time. Manufacturing time. That's the name of the field. Manufacturing time. Now, hopefully, this piece, the cast code, copy that, go back here, and it worked. It's strange. It didn't work here, but it worked there. But so the code is here. That's done. Hit OK. You see, it's created. Now the field, this is the field it wants. It wants one field that will concatenate all 4 composite keys. All these fields here. It wants one field that brings them all together. So I created that. Okay, so that's done. I'm going to close this now. Okay. Also, I can close the systems thing. Just trying to keep it clean over here. All right, so there it is. And if I go back to the cube design, it's there already. The field came over. The minute I created it, it immediately showed in the cube. So now let's go back and create that dimension that we wanted. Okay, hit next here. I'm going to use the fact table, manufacturing table, I'm sorry. Now, it has this again, okay? But now I'm going to delete all of these because I have one field that unites them all, okay? That combines it the way the system is requesting, okay? So I'm going to go down here, move the bar up to the blank spot, hit that. That deletes batch number. I'm going to click on the product code, move the bar up to the blank, click on the blank. That deletes that field, the batch number. And then for the data manufacturing, you see it said next, okay? But this is wrong. It will give us inconsistent data if we select next here. Why? Because there's duplicate fields. There's duplicate fields in the data manufacturing. There's duplicates. We don't need that. That will give you inconsistent results. Results that are not correct. When you do your analysis, it will not be correct. Why? Because it needs to have unique links to the manufacturing fact table. It can't have fields that are linked to it that are duplicates. Okay, it has duplicate data. And we know that the data manufacturer has duplicates in it. So we're going to now change that to manufacturing time. Now, this is the one we want. We know that there's no duplicates in here. So we hit next. Now, what this is saying is, do you want your new dimension to be connected to all of these, to be connected to the other dimensions? Okay? No, we don't. We don't want it related to the others. We want a dimension of time connected solely to the manufacturing fact table. That's what we want. So we're going to uncheck all of these. We don't want our new dimension of time connected to these other tables. We only want it connected to the manufacturing fact table because we have to run analysis on the numbers here. We have to run analysis on accepted products, rejected products, and then we have to create two calculations also and run analysis by month, quarter, and year. We don't need our time dimension connected to other dimensions. So this is why I'm unchecking the boxes of all of these dimensions here. So I'm gonna hit next. Now, since I unchecked them, I don't even want them in my new dimension. I don't want them in there. So I'm gonna uncheck them all. I need this field because this is my unique field that will connect the new time dimension to the manufacturing fact table with this calculated field here. Okay, so I'm going to do the date of manufacturing, the year of manufacturing, the quarter, and the month. But I need to let the analysis server, the OLAP Q software, know that these fields are time-related fields. They're not regular fields. They're time-related. Okay, so I'm going to change this date of manufacturing. It's not a regular field. It's a date from a calendar, the date. The year, it also, calendar, scroll down, year. The quarter, and the month. Next. Now, what am I going to name this dimension? I'm not going to name it the same name as the manufacturing fact table. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to change the name and make it a dim time. Just to be consistent with the other dimensions here, I'm going to name it dim, but then I'm going to say time. I'm going to spell time all the way out. Okay. Next. So now I have my time dimension, which is created. But if you go back, he wants a hierarchy here. He not only wants the attributes, he want to be able to drill down. He didn't say that because he doesn't know about these systems. He knows about the strategy of the organization. So you, as the analyst, you need to understand that he wants to be able to drill down from the year. He wants to drill into the year, by quarter, by month, and if he wants to see key transactions in that month, he needs to be able to do it. Okay, so that means he needs a hierarchy here. Not only the attributes, but he needs it in levels. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so we don't, for this particular one, we already know that this is a time dimension. We've already noticed it. Okay, we already set that up. Okay, so it already knows that this dimension that we just created, the type of dimension it is. If we click on type, it's a time dimension. Okay, so that's already done. And the attributes are already there. So let's move on to the hierarchies. The hierarchies are built from the very general level to the very detailed level. The very general or the highest level is year. And we have to build it where it drills down all the way to the date. So that means that the year goes first, then the quarter, then the month, then the date. We don't need to bring over manufacturing time, the field that we created, because it's a composite key. It will automatically come over. We don't need to create or need to add it to the hierarchy. Okay. So now let's build the relationship. How do we want these 4 fields to relate to each other? Okay. So let's do that. So first, and I'm going to bring this down a little bit. Hopefully it'll move out. I guess it doesn't move. Okay. Well, anyway, we went from the top to the bottom, to the lowest level, from the highest level to the lowest. Well, when we do the relationship, it's the opposite. We're going to go from not counting our key here. We're going to go from the date of manufacturing and we're going to go up. The next level up is month. And we know that these dates are in the past. If we leave it at flexible, okay, that means that these dates in the past will change to some other dates in the past. This is incorrect. The transaction has already occurred. The date stamp for that transaction has already happened. So it is rigid. So we're going to select rigid, will not change. Past dates of transactions don't change. Okay. And then from month to quarter, rigid. And then from quarter to year. So we're working back up now. And we also have to change the relationship type here to rigid as well. Okay, that's done. Let's save it. Okay, so now that's done. So we'll close that now. But look, we don't see our time dimension over here. We know we created it because it's right here, but we need it over here. Because we can't see attributes from the dimension instance in the Solutions Explorer, but we can see the attributes here. Okay, we need to see those attributes, and we need to know that that hierarchy is there. It needs to be here so that it comes over in the cube. So let's right click on the cube box here, MaxMinManufacturing cube, add a dimension. There it is. We're going to add dim time. And now we have it over here. Okay, we have it. And if we scroll down, we'll see that our attributes are there, and we know that the hierarchy is created. So this is done. Okay, so the next thing we need to do before we deploy the cube, we're going to deploy it twice. We're going to deploy it once we create these 2 calculations, and then we're going to deploy it again after we create the KPI. Okay, so let's go to the calculations. Okay, so the calculations, I'm going to click on that tab, and right here where it says new calculated member, I'm going to create total products. Okay, let's create that, total products. So I'm going to type in here total space products, but I'm going to put my brackets because it has to recognize this, because what you're actually doing is you're writing MDX code, but they gave you a form to make it easy. That's all they did. Okay, they gave you a form. Okay, so this is the name of my calculation. Okay, and what is being calculated? What's being calculated, if I go back to the cube structure, is accepted products plus rejected products. These are the 2 that's being added together. Okay, so I want to go ahead and write that in. I'm going to put in here accepted products plus sign rejected products. There you go. It's done. Now, I'm going to take this format, the format screen, it comes right from the book, from our book in our course. So I'm going to put the quotes, number, comma, number. All right, do that. Now, the empty behavior is also being recommended from the book. Normally, I leave this blank, but the book is saying click on accepted and rejected products. So I'm going to do that. Now, the display folder. Where do I want this measure to display? It's going to be in measures already because this is the parent hierarchy. It's going to be there. Okay. Now, what parent member? Okay. Not any of these. Okay. So I hit cancel. I'm going to type in the folder that I want this calculation to be in. In the folder, I go back here. I want it to be in the manufacturing fact folder. I don't want to type it because I don't want to risk misspelling it, because if I misspell it, it's going to create another directory and put that calculation in it based on how I spelt it. So I want to be exact. So I'm going to click on it, right click, and I'm going to hit rename, but I'm not renaming this. I am going to right click back in and copy it. And then I'm going to clear my cursor by clicking in a blank space in the data source view. Okay. Then I'm going to go back to calculations, and then I'm going to go into the display box, display folder box, right click and hit paste. That way I got the correct spelling. So this is done. I'm going to hit save. Okay. It's done. Now I'm going to create another calculation. And this calculation is going to be a calculation that will be the calculation that will read the KPI. So the name that I use must be the name that is also in the KPI. So what do I mean? If I go back to what is being asked, I see that there is a measure being created called percent rejected. And this simply shows the percent being rejected. And up here, it's saying you have to create a field, rejected products by percent. Okay. I can't name it that, but this is what it's actually doing. It's giving me the percentage of rejected. The total, the rejected products divided by the total products gives me the percent. But I need a KPI on that calculation. Okay. And the KPI is already written. So I have to use this name as the calculated field. That way, when I create the KPI, it automatically reads the calculated field. Okay. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to name it, bam, percent rejected. Put my brackets. There you go. Okay. Now, what is the calculation? Well, the calculation is the rejected products divided by the total products. You don't see the total products here because we have not deployed, we have not processed everything we've done so far. We have not processed it yet. Okay, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to type in here rejected products divided by our total products. I know the name already. It's right here, the total products. So there you go. And we're going to use the same format that the book recommends for the numbers. And the reason why we're doing this is because we want the ability, when we move in our next video, we will do the analysis on this cube in Excel. So we will want to be able to do our formats of the numbers the way we really want them to look. We'll do that in Excel. I'm going to leave the empty behavior, the non-empty behavior, I'm going to leave that blank. But I also want this calculated field to be in my fact manufacturing. So I thought I had it still printed or still saved in my memory. So I'm going to go back and do it again. I'm going to click on the manufacturing fact table, hit rename, but I'm not going to rename it. Right click, copy it, clear the cursor, and then I'm going to come over here and paste it. So that's done. Now I'm ready to process this cube and deploy it. I'm ready to process it and deploy it. Before I do that, I want to know where it's going. When I deploy it, I want to know where it's going. So I'm going to go to project, properties, deployment. And right here, it tells me this is where your cube is going to go. It's going to go to my main SQL Server instance that is connected to my computer name. Okay, so I'm okay with that. So if I go to Microsoft SQL Server, my local host, the cube is not coming here. It's not coming to the database engine. It's going to come to the analysis services server. So I'm going to write on here, I'm going to type in localhost. Okay, this is where it's going. It doesn't need my passwords because it's taking it from the actual computer when I log in to access the computer, which makes it very easy. So now it's going to show me the analysis server. This is the database engine instance where the data marts are held. Analysis services is where your cubes are held. Okay, the analysis server. So I'm clicking on that. That will come up. That is the place where when I deploy my cube, that's where it's going to go. So while that's going on, I'm going to hit save one more time, and then I'm going to hit this button here, process the cube. I can hit it over here, or I can right click on the cube and hit process there. So I'm going to do the cube. Okay, and hit process, yes. And now the cube is processing. There you have it. Then I'm going to run. The process succeeded. Close, close, and then I'm going to close the process here. Now, I go back here, okay? I go back, go to databases. Here's my cube. I dated it for today, so I know which one it is. Here it is, okay? That's the name. So I'm going to hit browse. I'm going to browse this cube. I can browse it in Microsoft SQL Server Management Studios. I can browse it here. Here are my two calculated fields. They're under the manufacturing directory. And also my time dimension, the hierarchy is here. And I bring in total products just to check it. There you go. Beautiful. Now, or I can browse it here. I can browse it in Visual Studios. Same way. Measure. So you have a choice. You can browse it anywhere you want to browse it. There it is. Same information. So now, the last piece is to create the KPI. Okay, so let's create that KPI. Now notice when we create this KPI, you know that for some reason or another, after you deploy it, Visual Studio freezes up. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. So you're gonna have to do a Control-Alt-Delete, close Visual Studios, abort it actually, and then bring it back up. You won't lose any information when you do it. Okay, so I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna create the KPI. So I click on the KPI button, then I come here, new KPI. Okay, what am I gonna name it? I'm gonna name it the same name that's here. Rejected products by percent, or percent of rejected. I'll name it that way. That sounds a little better. Percent of rejected. So that's the name of it. The associated measure group, the KPI is going to be based on the manufacturing table. What's the value expression? This is very important. The value expression is the calculated field that we created. This is our value expression. How do we know that? Because it is in the MDX formula. The decisions that are going to be made are tied to the data that's in this particular field. So this is how we know that's the value expression. Okay? So we're going to hold it down and drag it over here. Now, the gold expression, we already know that our gold expression, we want, and this is how we're putting the percent. They're putting it this way, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. 2% or less. That's how they're doing the 2%. You know, that's how it is. Okay, so now the status expression that comes directly from the system rules, DMDX. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it directly into the status field. There it is. So that's done. Hit save. And I'm going to see if I can process just this. So it's running here. Just reran it really quickly. It did lock up on me, so I had to run it again, close out the Visual Studios and close it. So this time it'll close completely. And here you have the KPI. You see here, it's all done, the KPI. And that will complete the building of the MaxMinManufacturing cube. In our next video segment, we will do the other part, which is the analysis. But before we do that, we have to go back and see here that the MaxMinManufacturing file, the UDM file, which is really an XML file, has to be saved. So for that, we're going to go over to Visual Studios. This is the, Visual Studios. I'm sorry, not Visual Studios. I stand corrected. Microsoft SQL Server Management Studios. The Management Studios. And here's the cube over here as well. I'm going to refresh this cube just to show you that the KPI is here as well. If we remove some of these fields, we know the KPI needs to be on the products. So we're going to drag that over, and then we're going to go down to product name, bring that in, run it. And there you can see it's the same as we demonstrated it in Visual Studios. So now that that's done, I'm going to right click on the cube itself, script the cube as, create to, and hit file. And from here, I'm going to go and save it as I already saved it before, but this will be the nomenclature or the name of the file, MaxMinManufacturing, the last four of my ID, which is 1495 underscore UDM XMLA. So this is what will be uploaded into Blackboard as your first file. So you would actually right click on the cube, okay, same as I did here, script the cube, create to, and then go to file and name it as the instructions say in the request. And now that formally closes this video, and in our next video we will do the analysis, which is the Excel piece of the MaxMinManufacturing. Thank you.